there, Fern the Fan friends, and welcome to this week's episode where we're going to continue with part 2 of our rib installation. Last week we did the main ribs. Today we're going to do the little riblets. Next in our video, we're going to be continuing our build of our ribs, our braces, and any other supports that need to go back here in the kitchenette area. First of all, what we're going to do is we are going to add this beam across the back. It'll span from wall to wall, and it'll be actually the top of our counter and where our lid attaches to. It's a tall order. We have some interesting things that we have to try to figure out. It's easy to get the length of our beam. We just measure, right? And then once we get the length of our beam, we're going to do our standard notching in of our plywood into the sidewall so that it has a nice pocket for it to sit in. But the interesting thing and the challenging part of this is we have this beam that we're going to have to either notch part of the beam and part of our rib, or some other, we need to have some connection so that it doesn't weaken the rib or the beam. I was thinking we're going to use our little squirrel nut connection, but we may or may not, I don't know. But what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and cut our beam. I've already measured it. We're going to cut our beam and get our pockets in the sidewalls notched out and ready to accept this beam. Now our beam is too long to stick between here and the other side to get our marking. So what I did was I went ahead and just cut this little block off of the same piece of beam that I had, so it's the exact same size. This is the mark here on the trailer that we measured from the bottom of the trailer up almost 22 inches, which is the size of our metal panel. So we're going to go from the top of that mark down. And because this is on a bit of a slope, this block is also on just a slight slope. Just mark that. And we need to remove that little block out of the side of our panel. We'll do the same thing on the other side after I do this one. We have a little problem. This is in the way. We may have to undo the bolt and the glue. Well, that's what happens. Let's just remove this out of the way so we can finish our cut. There, it fits. We got lucky. I was able just to loosen the top and push our rib in, so I was able to get that notch cut out. Now let's go to the other side and I'll finish cutting that out and I'll be right back. We was able to get this side in and it fits very nice. Now we have to figure out how to notch our beam with these ribs. All right, after contemplating what we're going to do, I'm going to try to explain it, and if it doesn't make any sense, I'll just edit it right out of this video. But we know that our beam here is notched into our wall here at a certain angle. It's not much, but it's got a little angle to it. We also know that this beam needs to be notched right here between this edge and that edge. Now, what we don't know is the depth of what we need to cut off here or the depth we need to cut out of our rib. But if we take our rib off, push it over to the wall here, then we can take these same measurements we have here, its angle and its size, transpose those onto our rib, and then cut those out. we should be able to get this connection to fit pretty dang good. Oh, hey, Philip. OSHA Dog's here. How you doing, buddy? Are you here to check out what's going on? Yeah, we're trying to get this rib thing in here. Yeah, we're trying to make all these things work. You down with that? Yeah? All right, good boy. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take this off. We're gonna take our rib off and start doing some lines and hopefully cut this out and not mess up this rib or the other rib. All right, there, we figured it out. So we took our rib off and we took that little block that was from the beam and we stuck it back in our little notch. You can see that. So we put this back in our notch. So now we know exactly where that is going to be. And all we have to do with our pencil to get the angle of this little block, we just have to run our pencil there and underneath there. And that is simple geometry or trigonometry or calculus or something. That works. All right, let's get to the other side. We'll do the exact same thing. And then we do the scary thing of cutting into our beam and our rib. It's time to make that first cut. I'm a little nervous, but here we go. Now we're going down, we have 6 different slats here. We're gonna go halfway to 3. That looks like a good cut. Ooh. Now let's go to the beam. Hopefully it'll fit. I've cut both notches out of our ribs. Now I'm just going to use the little pieces of wood that I cut out of the ribs for a depth block, so to speak. Put them on our beam. That way I'll know exactly how far in the beam to cut. Okay, so you're seeing it right here live. Will it fit? That is the big question. So, what have we done? We cut notches in our beam. We cut notches in our ribs. And now, let's see if it'll fit. All right, we can put that there. We're gonna tap this just lightly. The beam looks good. Here's our real test. All right. That goes there. You gotta see this. Took a little bit out of this here. Oh, that looks really good. You know, instead of doing that, let's get our clamp. Oh, look at that snuggie right up. That is a gorgeous joint. All right, let's do the other side and we'll continue to roll on with this project. So now that we've reinstalled temporarily our rib here, and our wonderful cross member beam here, I want to go ahead and add what we'll call the riblets. The riblets are the little pieces. So what we want to do is we want to take some plywood. We're going to draw our rib shape on the plywood, cut that up, and then install the riblets down here and here, just so that it has a nice backing and also will help support this main beam as people are leaning on it when they're prepping stuff in the kitchen area. So let's go ahead and take off our rib so that we can make a template, and we'll mark our riblets on our pieces of plywood, and then we'll go ahead and cut out those riblets. So here we removed one of our main ribs, and we're just going to use this shape as a template because we already know the distance between our notch here and our floor angle here. So we're just going to take this and mark it on these two pieces of plywood. Actually, we're going to need 4 total because we're going to glue 2 together. So we'll just set it there. We've now drawn our 4 little riblets on this piece of plywood. We're going to take it to our bandsaw, cut them out, and then we're going to glue and staple them together. Now we're going to take our little riblets, put a little bit of white sauce on them, and stick them together. All right, we have our 4 ribs. Just going to add a little bit of barbecue sauce to it here. Oh, that is some nice barbecue sauce. Have you ever had white barbecue sauce? It is the tangiest stuff you've ever had. All righty. That looks like a nice swabby of barbecue sauce. We're just going to line these up right there. Bring out our old friend. Make sure it's cocked. We now have our 2 riblets. Nope, we now have our 4 riblets turned into 2 riblets. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let them dry just for a little while, and then we're going to take them over to our belt sander, and we're going to sand them smooth to each other, and then we'll install them on the back of this trailer. Whew. Now that we have our little riblets all sanded and sized and shaped, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off our little tips and install them here with the back beam and onto the floor. We installed our first riblet back here using a construction screw. So we're going to do the same process with this little riblet here. We are using 3 different bits to do this job. The first bit we're going to use is this tapered one here, which has a nice little chamfer here on the end so that our screw will sit down flush with the top of our beam. So we're just going to go ahead and put that one in there. And I'm going to align our rib here with the center line that I drew up here on our beam. Now I've drilled it down just enough so that our head of our screw will sit down flush with the top. Now, with this one you can see that it started the hole, but it didn't go in all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and drill it down. This is to prevent, when we put our screw in, from this wood splitting. Now, that's one bit. The other bit we need to use is this one. And this bit is a little bit wider than our screw threads. And we're going to use this bit up here in the beam so that we can just push our screws straight down through the beam, and then the teeth of the screw will grab only in the riblet. All right, and number 3, just as a cautionary, in number 3 we have the screw head type, which is, I guess you consider that a star. Just this, like that. Put our screw down in. And we'll just screw this down. There. Now when we go to glue this all up and secure this hole back in together, we'll go ahead and we'll tighten everything and we'll put screws down in the bottom of the ribs. But right now we need to leave it flexible because there's some more things that are going to be happening on the inside of this kitchenette. We need to be able to have access for when we put in our ice box, and we're going to have a countertop in here. There's also another wall that comes down right here, just a little short one. So there's a lot of things going on, but we don't want to lock ourselves into having this all glued in just yet. Now, our video is going to get a little bit long here, but we need to do one more thing to finish off our riblets, and that's to go back up to the top. For our last 4 riblets, we have one here, 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 and here. And the purpose of these riblets is to hold the ceiling on the inside part of our shelf here. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make these slightly different than the other ones. As you can see, I've already cut them out of our redwood 2x2, and I've cut an angle here and an angle here, which corresponds to our wall here and our flat edge here. So what we're going to do in order to make it curve is we're just going to go ahead and cut a little bit of wood here and cut a little bit of wood right here so that the outside will have a curve to it, but the inside will be flat, and that's fine. It's just in this little shelf area. So let's go ahead and get these curves cut and we'll stick them on the trailer. So I was over at the bandsaw and I cut this little curved shape, and now we're just going to sand them smooth using our belt sander. Let's go put them on the trailer. We have our 4 pieces, now let's set them in place. That is it for this part of our riblet installation. We're going to go ahead and wait until we can cut out some plywood to put our little ceiling on underneath there, and we'll want to paint that before we install it also. That's it for this week's Fur in the Fan, and I want to thank you all for stopping by and spending a few minutes with us as we continue to build our little trailer. Remember to stop in next time because we're going to have, the ribs have been exciting, I know. Now we're going to go to where it cooks. Where's that? Yes, that's right. We are going to try to figure out how we're going to do our countertops in this area. So stop on by. We'll see you next time.